Many people think the garden goes to sleep for the winter, a quiet and dormant place until the warmth of spring returns. But this is simply not true. As we stand here on this crisp second day of December, the garden is very much alive. It has simply changed its rhythm, slowed its pace, and shifted its focus. The frantic growth of summer has given way to a more considered, steady development. This is a time of quiet strength, where the plants that thrive in the cold are beginning their most important phase. The first week of December in particular is a crucial window. It is a period of establishment, where roots dig deep and leaves gather the low winter sun, preparing for a surge of growth that will carry them through to harvest. This is not a time for idleness in the garden, but a time for observation and gentle encouragement. The work we do now sets the stage for the bounty to come in the coldest months. The soil, though cool to the touch, is a hive of activity beneath the surface. Microbes are still at work, breaking down organic matter and making nutrients available for the hungry roots of our winter vegetables. This week is a turning point. The days are at their shortest, and the plants that have been sown in late autumn are now ready to respond to our care. They are poised for a growth spurt, a final push before the deep chill of midwinter truly sets in. This is our chance to give them everything they need. Understanding this period is the secret to successful winter gardening. It is about working with the season, not against it. We are not trying to replicate the heat of summer. We are embracing the unique conditions that winter offers. The cool, moist air and the soft, diffused light are perfect for certain crops. They encourage sweet, tender growth in leafy greens and prevent root vegetables from bolting. The challenges are different, of course. We must be mindful of waterlogging, protect against sharp frosts, and make the most of every precious hour of daylight. But the rewards are immense. Fresh, flavorful vegetables harvested from your own garden when the shops are full of produce that has traveled thousands of miles. So let us cast aside the notion of a dormant garden. Instead, let's see this first week of December for what it truly is, the start of a new, exciting chapter. It is a time for quiet connection with the earth, for nurturing life in the face of the cold. The garden is not sleeping. It is gathering its strength. It is a place of subtle but powerful growth, a testament to the resilience of nature. And for us gardeners, it is a time of great opportunity and profound satisfaction. The real work, the smart work of the winter gardener, begins right now. Let's get our hands dirty and see what magic we can encourage. The leafy greens are often the stars of the winter garden. Crops like spinach, chard, winter lettuces, and various oriental greens like mizuna and mibuna are now entering a key phase of growth. In this first week of December, you will notice them looking particularly lush and vibrant. The cool temperatures bring out a remarkable sweetness in their leaves, a flavor that you simply cannot find in summer-grown equivalents. Your main task now is to ensure they have the support they need to continue this strong development. Consistent moisture is absolutely vital. The soil should be kept damp but never waterlogged. A good thorough watering once a week is usually sufficient unless the weather is unusually dry or windy. Check the base of your plants. You want to see strong, healthy stems and leaves that are firm and full of life. This is a sign that the root systems are well established and are efficiently drawing nutrients and water from the soil. If the leaves appear a little pale or yellow, it might indicate a need for a gentle feed. A liquid seaweed feed, diluted to half strength, is perfect for this. It provides a broad range of micronutrients without encouraging soft, sappy growth that would be vulnerable to frost damage. We are aiming for sturdy, resilient plants, not a fleeting flush of tender leaves that will collapse at the first sign of a hard freeze. One of the most important things you can do for your greens this week is to ensure their roots are happy. The surface of the soil can sometimes form a hard crust, especially after heavy rain, which prevents water from penetrating and air from reaching the roots. Gently scratch the surface of the soil around your plants with a hand fork or a hoe. This simple action, known as creating a dust mulch, breaks up the cap, improves aeration, and helps the soil retain moisture where it is needed most. It also has the added benefit of disrupting the life cycle of any slug eggs that may be lurking just below the surface. Finally, think about protection. While many winter greens are incredibly hardy, a sudden sharp frost can still cause damage, especially to younger plants. Having a roll of horticultural fleece or some cloches on standby is a sensible precaution. If a hard frost is forecast, simply drape the fleece over your crops in the evening. This can raise the temperature around the plants by a few crucial degrees, protecting the leaves from ice crystal damage. Remember to remove it in the morning to allow the plants to benefit from the light and air. This gentle, proactive care will ensure your green tide continues to swell. Beneath the soil, another story is unfolding. Root vegetables such as carrots, parsnips, beetroot, and winter radishes are using the cool conditions of early December to their advantage. The cold weather slows down top growth, the foliage above the ground, and encourages the plants to pour their energy into their roots. This is precisely what we want. The chill also triggers a process where the starches within the root are converted into sugars, acting as a natural antifreeze for the plant. This is why winter-harvested carrots and parsnips have a sweetness and depth of flavor that is simply unparalleled. Your job this week is to give them the space and conditions they need to swell. The single most important task for root vegetables at this stage is thinning. It can feel brutal to pull out perfectly healthy-looking seedlings, but it is essential for a good harvest. If the plants are left crowded, they will compete for light, water, and nutrients, and you will end up with a massive foliage and lots of disappointingly small, tangled roots. Check your seed packet for the final recommended spacing. For carrots, you want to leave about 2 inches between each plant. For parsnips and beetroot, allow a bit more, perhaps 4 to 6 inches. Thin on a damp, still day to minimize the scent that attracts pests like carrot fly. Once thinned, the focus shifts to maintaining a balanced environment. Root vegetables do not need a lot of nitrogen-rich feed. Too much nitrogen will encourage lush, leafy top growth at the expense of the root, which is the part we want to eat. The soil should have had plenty of well-rotted compost incorporated before sowing, and that is often enough to see them through. If your soil is particularly poor, a light dressing of a high-potassium feed can be beneficial, as potassium is crucial for root development and overall plant health. But apply it sparingly. With root crops, less is often more. Keep the soil around your root vegetables consistently moist, but be very careful not to overwater. Fluctuations between very dry and very wet conditions can cause roots, especially carrots, to split. A thick layer of mulch, such as straw or well-rotted leaf mold, applied around the plants now will work wonders. It helps to suppress weeds that compete for resources, insulates the soil from temperature extremes, and most importantly, it locks in that vital, consistent moisture. This protective blanket allows the roots below to continue their slow, sweetening work, undisturbed by the changing weather above. The Brassica family is the backbone of the winter vegetable patch. This diverse group includes winter cabbages, kale, Brussels sprouts, and purple sprouting broccoli. By early December, these plants should be well-established, sturdy figures in the garden. For Brussels sprouts, you may already see the tiny buttons forming in the leaf axils along the main stem. For winter cabbages, the hearts should be starting to feel firm and dense. This is a time for inspection and support, ensuring they have what they need to endure the coming cold and produce a generous harvest. Your first task is to check their stability in the soil. Winter winds can be fierce, and the large leaves of brassicas can act like sails, causing the plants to rock back and forth. This is known as wind rock, and it can create a gap around the base of the stem, which then fills with water, freezes, and damages the plant. It also breaks the fine root hairs that are essential for nutrient uptake. Go around each of your brassica plants and firm the soil around the base with your boot. For taller plants like Brussels sprouts and kale, it is a very good idea to provide some extra support by staking them with a sturdy cane. This simple act can make all the difference between a collapsed plant and a thriving one. Feeding your brassicas now requires a gentle touch. These are hungry plants, but as with other winter crops, we want to encourage strong, hardy growth, not soft, vulnerable foliage. A feed that is high in nitrogen is best avoided at this time of year. Instead, consider giving them a light dressing of wood ash if you have it from a bonfire. Wood ash is rich in potassium, which promotes sturdy cell structure and improves disease resistance, both of which are crucial for winter survival. Simply sprinkle a small handful around the base of each plant and gently fork it into the surface of the soil. Pest control also changes its focus in winter. While many summer pests have disappeared, pigeons can become a major problem. They can strip a row of brassicas bare in a single morning, especially when other food sources become scarce. The best and only truly effective defense is to cover your plants with netting. Create a framework of canes or hoops over your brassica bed and drape the netting over it, making sure it is securely pegged down at the edges. This physical barrier is far more effective than any scare tactic and will ensure that you are the one who gets to harvest your cabbages and sprouts, not the birds. Alright folks, let's dive into section 5, all about our aromatic allies and how we care for those winter herbs. Now, even in the depths of winter, believe it or not, your herb garden can still provide fresh, pungent flavors for your kitchen. Hardy perennial herbs like rosemary, thyme, sage, and winter savory, well, they're incredibly resilient. They continue to offer up their leaves throughout the cold months. Here we are in the first week of December, and while they're not actively growing like they do in summer, they're busy maintaining themselves. They're holding their essential oils, just waiting for you to come along and harvest them. The key to keeping these guys healthy is making sure they have the right conditions. For most of these Mediterranean natives, that means excellent drainage and as much light as possible. You see, many gardeners make the mistake of over-nurturing their woody herbs in winter. But these plants, they're adapted to tough, lean conditions. They don't want rich soil or lots of feed. In fact, giving them too much now would be counterproductive, encouraging soft growth that's easily damaged by frost. The most important thing you can do is check that they're not sitting in waterlogged soil. If you've got them in pots, make sure the drainage holes aren't blocked. Maybe raise the pots onto feet to allow excess water to drain away freely. For herbs in the ground, avoid adding any heavy mulch that might trap moisture around the crown of the plant and cause it to rot. Now, light is the other critical factor. With the low sun and short days of December, it's important to make sure your herbs aren't being overshadowed by other plants or structures. If you have herbs in pots, this is the perfect time to move them to the sunniest, most sheltered spot you have, maybe against a south-facing wall. This little bit of extra light and reflected warmth can make a big difference to their health and vitality. When you harvest, do so sparingly. Snip a few sprigs here and there, rather than cutting back a whole section. This way the plant can recover easily and continue to provide for you all winter long. Some of the softer-leaved herbs, like parsley and chives, they can also be kept going through the winter with a little protection. A cloche placed over a patch of parsley will keep the worst of the weather off and allow you to continue harvesting fresh, green leaves for your cooking. Chives will naturally die back, but if you dig up a small clump, pot it up, and bring it inside to a cool, bright windowsill, it'll soon resprout, giving you a welcome taste of freshness indoors. These simple steps ensure that your aromatic allies remain productive, even on the darkest of days. Your allium army, the garlic, cloves, and onion sets planted in the autumn, should now be showing their first signs of life. In the first week of December, you will likely see their small green shoots poking bravely through the soil. It is a heartening sight, a promise of the pungent, flavorful bulbs to come next summer. At this stage, their main job is to develop a strong and extensive root system before the ground freezes solid. The green shoots you see are a good sign, indicating that things are progressing well below the surface. Your role is to provide the ideal conditions for this crucial root development to continue. Moisture is important, but as with so many winter crops, the danger of too much is greater than the danger of too little. Garlic and onions despise sitting in cold, wet soil, which can cause the sets or cloves to rot before they have even had a chance to grow properly. This is why we plant them in well-drained soil in the autumn. Check your bed now. If the soil looks sodden and compacted, it is vital to improve aeration. Gently use a hand fork to prick over the surface of the soil between the rows, being careful not to disturb the young shoots or the developing roots just below. This will help excess water to drain away and allow air to get to the root zone. Weed management is also critical at this early stage. The young shoots of garlic and onions are not very competitive and can easily be swamped by more vigorous winter weeds like chickweed or bittercress. These weeds not only steal light, water, and nutrients, but can also harbor pests and diseases. Because the soil is cold and you do not want to disturb the allium roots too much, the best approach is gentle hand weeding. A satisfying job for a still, dry day. A light mulch of well-rotted compost or leaf mold applied between the rows after weeding will help to suppress further weed growth. Finally, keep a close eye on the shoots themselves. Birds, particularly pigeons, can sometimes pull up the newly sprouted sets, mistaking them for worms or grubs. If you notice this happening, the best solution is to cover the bed with horticultural fleece or netting until the plants are more established and their roots have a firmer grip on the soil. There is no need for any feeding at this point. The cloves and sets have all the energy they need stored within them to get through the winter. Your job is simply to be their guardian, protecting them from weeds, waterlogging, and wildlife. For the keenest of gardeners, autumn-sown broad beans and hardy peas are a wonderful winter project. By early December, these young plants should be a few inches tall, with small, determined-looking leaves. They are remarkably tough and can withstand surprisingly cold temperatures. Their goal during the winter is to establish a robust root system and a sturdy frame, ready for a burst of growth as soon as the days begin to lengthen in late winter and early spring. The reward for this early start is a precious, extra early harvest of tender pods long before the spring-sown crops are even flowering. Your task now is to provide them with support and protection. Even though the plants are small, it is a good idea to put their supports in place now. Pushing canes or twiggy branches into the ground later on can damage the developing root systems, so it is best to do it early. For peas, a network of twiggy pea sticks, prunings from the garden, such as birch or hazel, is ideal as the tendrils have plenty of places to cling to. For broad beans, a simple system of canes and string is effective. Place a sturdy cane at each end of the row and run lines of string between them, creating a fence on either side of the plants to stop them from flopping over in the wind. This framework also provides a little extra shelter from the elements. Watering should be done with care. Like most winter vegetables, peas and broad beans do not need a great deal of water at this time of year, and waterlogged soil is their enemy. It can lead to root rot and other fungal diseases. Only water if the soil is genuinely dry, which is unlikely in a typical British December. The natural rainfall should be more than sufficient. Similarly, there is no need for feeding. These plants are legumes, which means they have a special ability to fix their own nitrogen from the air via bacteria in their root nodules. Adding nitrogen-rich feed would only encourage soft, leafy growth that is susceptible to frost. The main threat to these young plants, aside from windrock, is pests. Mice can be a problem, as they are fond of digging up and eating the seeds. If you find small holes and missing plants, this is the likely culprit. A well-placed humane trap can help, as can ensuring the bed is clear of debris where mice might shelter. Pigeons can also take a fancy to the tender young shoots. If they become a nuisance, covering the row with fleece or netting is the most reliable solution. Providing this simple support and protection now will ensure your plants are in the best possible shape to face the winter and race towards an early spring harvest. Gardening in winter is as much about prevention as it is about cultivation. The cool, damp conditions of early December, while beneficial for the growth of many crops, can also create the perfect environment for a host of problems. One of the most common issues is damping off, a fungal disease that affects seedlings, causing them to rot at the base and collapse. It thrives in cold, wet, and stagnant conditions. The best defense is to ensure good air circulation around your plants. Avoid overcrowding by thinning seedlings to their correct spacing, and keep the area free from weeds and debris that can trap damp air. Overwatering is perhaps the single biggest mistake a winter gardener can make. It is a natural impulse to want to nurture our plants, and we often equate watering with caring. However, in winter, the soil loses moisture far more slowly due to lower temperatures and less evaporation. Plant growth is also slower, so they use less water. Always check the soil before you even think about picking up the watering can. Push your finger an inch or two into the soil. If it feels damp, leave it alone. Waterlogged soil starves the roots of oxygen, leading to rot and the death of the plant. It is far better for the soil to be on the slightly dry side than to be soaking wet. Fungal diseases like downy mildew and botrytis, gray mold, can also be a problem, particularly on leafy greens and in greenhouses or cold frames where air circulation can be limited. The key to prevention is ventilation. On dry, still days, open the doors and vents of your cold frame or greenhouse for a few hours to allow fresh air to circulate and reduce humidity. When growing crops under cloches or fleece, be sure to lift the covers periodically to let the air in. If you do spot any signs of disease, such as moldy or discolored leaves, remove and destroy them immediately to prevent the problem from spreading. Finally, be vigilant for slugs and snails. You might think they would be dormant in the cold, but on mild, damp December nights they can still be active and cause a surprising amount of damage, especially to young, tender seedlings. A late evening patrol with a torch can be very effective. Look for them under the rims of pots, beneath planks of wood, and among the leaves of your crops. Removing them by hand is the most targeted and organic method of control. By being a watchful guardian, you can protect your winter garden from these common troubles and ensure your crops remain healthy and productive. Successful winter gardening is ultimately an exercise in balance. It is about understanding the subtle interplay of light, temperature, and moisture, and using a gentle hand to guide your plants through the season. In December, sunlight is the most precious commodity. With the shortest day of the year fast approaching, every hour of light counts. Take time to observe how the sun moves across your garden. Are there any overhanging branches that could be pruned back to let in more light? can you move potted plants to a sunnier position. Even wiping the dust and grime off the glass of your greenhouse or cold frame can make a surprising difference to the amount of light reaching the plants inside. This is also the perfect time to transplant any hardy seedlings you may have raised in modules or seed trays. Young plants like winter lettuces, spinach, or spring cabbages that have been grown in the protected environment of a greenhouse or cold frame can be planted out into their final positions now. Planting them this week gives them a chance to establish their roots in the cool, moist soil before the really hard weather arrives. They will not put on much top growth immediately, but they will be building a strong foundation beneath the surface. This will give them a significant head start, ready to burst into growth as soon as the light levels begin to increase in the new year. Mulching is one of the most beneficial things you can do for your garden in December. A thick blanket of organic matter, such as well-rotted compost, leaf mold, or straw, spread over the surface of the soil does so many good things. It insulates the ground, protecting the delicate root systems of your plants from the damaging effects of repeated freezing and thawing. It suppresses weed growth, conserves moisture, and prevents heavy winter rain from washing away the precious topsoil. As the mulch slowly breaks down, it will also feed the soil life, improving its structure and fertility for the seasons to come. It is like tucking your garden into a warm bed for the winter. Above all, remember that this is a time for gentle guidance, not for forcing growth. The rhythm of the winter garden is slow and steady. Our role is not to fight the season, but to work in harmony with it. By thinning our seedlings, supporting our plants against the wind, protecting them from the worst of the cold, and ensuring they have just the right amount of water, we are creating an environment where they can thrive naturally. This first week of December is not an end, but a true beginning. It is the start of a smarter, more observant kind of gardening, and the foundation for a truly rewarding winter harvest.